Coming up on Mountain News this morning, an Eastern Kentucky mayor is heading to Frankfort next year, but he promises not to leave his city behind. And some Kentuckians were able to get the unique experience of drive-in voting this election cycle.
Dedicated to Eastern and Southern Kentucky, this is WYMT Mountain News this morning.
Thanks for joining us, and good morning. I'm Madison Carmouche. We are inching up to that 5 o'clock mark this Friday morning. Let's check in with meteorologist Megan Dusmall for a look at your forecast this morning. It's Friday.
It is Friday, thankfully.
Do we have some weather for Friday?
We do. Not any rainy weather, but we do have good weather. So let's take a look at those current temperatures, and as you can see, a little bit cooler than we've been seeing recently. And as we look at those high temperatures, even those are cooler, with most of the area in that upper 60s range. But as you're heading to our more southern areas, Middlesboro 71, 73 for Jonesville and Jacksboro. So it'll be a little bit warmer. These areas didn't see much rain at all yesterday or the day before, which is why you're seeing them to be a little bit warmer for today. Now, as we're looking at those satellite and radar, you're not going to see much, just some clouds, and we do have some fog as well. As we look at future view, we'll continue to see those push through the area, leaving some sun to peek through as you're going through your afternoon and evening hours. Now, if you're going to go out today, here is your breakdown. Those feels like temperatures will gradually increase as you're getting up to that hottest part of the day before cooling on down with little to no chance for rain at all today. I'll have your ARH 7-day forecast in just a couple of minutes. Madison?
All right, Megan, thank you. After a historic write-in election following the unexpected death of Senator Johnny Turner, voters decided on who would succeed him for the 29th Senate District seat. I was able to catch up with the man Bell, Floyd, Harlan, Knott, and Letcher counties voters chose to be their next senator. Pineville is going through changes, but not just aesthetically, as the mayor, Scott Maiden, is now the 29th District Senator-elect.
Never thought that 2 weeks later that I had run a 11-day campaign and been elected senator.
In the midst of the nearly $8 million construction chaos in the square, Maiden says he is not betraying his city.
And I understand people feeling that way because, you know, I'm sure you've seen downtown. We've got all the roads torn out and a lot of the sidewalks, and we're doing all that stuff. But, you know, the good thing is I'm going to be here for 2 more months. I live here, and we've got a short session this time.
But with his new title, the Pineville City Council will appoint a council member to serve as mayor until the end of the term in 2026.
Just as a councilman, I think moving forward, we're a pretty strong council. I think we'll work together on whatever it takes to make the city a better place.
Maiden says his advice to his successor is to leave the city better than when they started.
That's the most important thing. You've got to have a seat at the table, and I think that's one advantage that I'll have as a state senator is my knowledge and some of the things that I'll have a seat at the table with.
He adds he will continue to be an asset not only to Pineville, but most importantly to the 29th District as a whole.
I think we have a bright future here in the mountains, and my cup's half full, it's not half empty.
Mayor Maiden will continue his duties as the mayor of Pineville until he is sworn in as senator of the 29th Senate District in January 2025. He is also scheduled to be the next guest on Monday night's Issues and Answers. Voters in Bell County cast their ballots for a new 44th Judicial Circuit Commonwealth's attorney on Tuesday. Republican Mike Taylor won by a large margin against his Democratic opponent, Jesse Jean Moberg. Taylor beat out the incumbent Lisa Fugit in the May primary. Taylor won the county with more than 69% of the vote. He says it is now time to get to work solving issues of overcrowding in the detention center.
The cases are going to move, and if they don't move, they're going to have jury trials, and we're going to have either acquittals or convictions, but one way or the other, we're going to get this mess cleaned up, and we're going to do it quickly.
Taylor won the election despite longtime Commonwealth's attorney and lifelong Republican Karen Green Blondell endorsing Moberg. Kentuckians voted no on Amendment 2, one of the constitutional amendments that was on the state's ballot this election. The amendment proposed allowing Kentucky lawmakers to use tax money to fund private and charter schools. Those who were against the amendment, like Tiffany Combs with Perry County Schools, says this is a big win for students on the other side. On the other side, Tim Crawford with Redbird Christian School says relying on private funds can be a challenge.
Today's economies for the world and for particularly the United States, charitable giving is really down, and so there's more and more pressure for us to be able to find sources of funding to be able to continue here at Redbird Christian School.
Honestly, as it is, public schools are underfunded. So I think that this gives us the opportunity to look at how we can make sure that every student has success. You know, address the teacher shortage or universal pre-K for everyone across the state. There's just so many things that we can do to improve success, but reducing public education funding is definitely not one of those.
She says cutting funds would make it more challenging to address issues such as the teacher shortage. And he says since before the election, the school has been looking for new ways to find outside funding. Many counties in Kentucky allowed voters to cast their ballots early, either through a mail-in ballot or by showing up to the polls before Election Day. But Anderson County did something different. They allowed folks to drive through and vote. It came about when Lawrenceburg Mayor Troy Young brought it up to County Clerk Jason Denny. That is when he took him to the city's maintenance garage. A 4-lane operation was created, allowing 12 to 16 cars to fit into that area at a time.
We're running about 60% of our total voters go through the drive-through, whether it's early voting or Election Day, all combined.
But Denny says the endeavor did not come without its challenges. He says to host drive-through voting, it takes 2 to 3 times the number of election workers and more equipment than is needed for a standard polling place. In West Virginia, voters decided who would become the state's next governor. Republican Patrick Morrisey defeated Democrat Steve Williams and other candidates receiving more than 62% of the votes. Morrisey is currently the state's attorney general and has served in that role since 2012. Morrisey is replacing Jim Justice as West Virginia governor. Justice, a Republican, was elected as a state senator this year, defeating Democrat Glenn Elliott and Libertarian David Moran. Justice won in a landslide, receiving approximately 69% of the vote. Justice has been West Virginia's governor since 2017. In Virginia, Tim Kaine was re-elected to the Senate. Kaine, who is a Democrat, was elected to a 3rd term, knocking off a Republican challenger. Kaine received approximately 54% of the votes. Kaine has served as a senator since 2013 and was the Democratic nominee for vice president in 2016 as Hillary Clinton's running mate. Thanks for getting your day started with us here on Mountain News this morning. When we return, President-elect Donald Trump is full of firsts, and this term is no exception with the announcement of a new chief of staff.
And that front is dropping our temperatures today. How low? I'll tell you that coming up.